Breaking news, the new head of Paramount telling CNN he is standing by South Park after another utterly scathing episode about the Trump administration.
Daily Beast headline, South Park exposes Trump's teeny tiny manhood in shocking premiere.
The White House obviously was not pleased with the episode.
And over at the White House, we don't have to imagine the huffing and puffing in Trump world. Headline, Trump seething over South Park mockery on eve of Skydance Paramount deal closure. White House lashes out at desperate season 27 premiere.
South Park just spent 22 minutes systematically destroying ICE's reputation, while Trump doubled down calling them heroes. The episode turned immigration enforcement into a racial profiling nightmare that raids heaven itself. Now Trump's defending the very agency South Park painted as morally bankrupt, and the timing couldn't be more perfect.
The second episode of season 27, once again, goes hard at Donald Trump, the Trump administration, and the MAGA mouthpieces. Paramount just cut a $1.5 billion deal with Stone and Parker for 50 new episodes of South Park and the rights to stream every season on Paramount+. Paramount owns CBS. They just settled a lawsuit with Donald Trump. They agreed to pay Trump's.
Season 27's latest episode didn't just mock Trump's policies. It declared open warfare on his entire immigration apparatus, and Trump's response proves exactly why South Park's criticism hit the bullseye. While other entertainment companies are bending the knee and paying settlements, Trey Parker and Matt Stone used their new $1.5 billion Paramount deal to launch the most brutal takedown of ICE ever put on television, knowing full well Trump would rush to defend them.
There's some problematic backstory. Okay, to unpack what we saw there. Mr. Mackey has been fired from his job as school counselor thanks to federal budget cuts.
Sure. Oh, nice.
So he joined ICE because they pay well and are willing to take literally anyone, as he keeps repeating, I'm just trying to get my nut.
ICE gets completely obliterated in this episode, portrayed as an organization so desperate they'll hire anyone breathing, including Mr. Mackey, who just got fired as school counselor due to budget cuts. The show literally brings back the World of Warcraft basement guy to lead immigration raids. And that's just the warm-up. South Park transforms ICE into a chaotic mess that storms through a Dora the Explorer live show, dragging families out mid-performance while agents chant their new motto, "If it's brown, it goes down."
Hello and welcome to the Clyde Donovan Podcast.
Welcome to the channel of truth, guys. You can't trust Jews, white people are the underprivileged, and women belong at home. I'd like to welcome our first guest to the debate, Eric Cartman. What the hell do you think you're doing, Clyde? We're here speaking the truth about the Jews or the underprivileged white class. That's my shtick!
Meanwhile, Clyde suddenly becomes the king of offensive podcasting, raking in a whopping $60 a week by spouting inflammatory garbage he doesn't even believe. The genius here is South Park's surgical precision in exposing the entire outrage economy. You've got Clyde as the empty opportunist who'll say anything for clicks and cash, while Cartman represents the Charlie Kirk-style true believer with actual ideological conviction. Both are dangerous, but for completely different reasons. And the show nails exactly how this toxic ecosystem operates in real life.
Welcome to the team, recruits. I'm Christy Nome, head of Homeland Security. Oh, she seems nice. Okay, very pretty. A few years ago, I had to put my puppy down by shooting it in the face. Because sometimes doing what's important means doing what's hard.
Then comes Christy Noem. And oh boy, did they go nuclear on her. Remember that memoir where she bragged about shooting her hunting dog? South Park turned that into a running massacre where Noem doesn't just take out one puppy. She's on a full spree, eliminating 5 dogs, including Superman's Crypto.
As the face of Homeland Security, I'll be leading the way. And together we'll make sure everyone is in this country.
But here's where it gets genuinely disturbing and brilliant. They gave Noem a face that literally melts off and slides away, requiring her staff to constantly reattach it like some horrific government PR metaphor. Every time her face comes off, it's a visual representation of how rotten systems try to slap on pretty facades while the corruption seeps through underneath.
Oh, this is bad. Okay.
Come on.
Remember, only detain the brown ones. If it's brown, it goes down. Look out!
The episode's most devastating sequence sends ICE agents straight into heaven, where they continue their brown deportation policy among the angels themselves. South Park isn't being subtle here. They're showing what happens when law enforcement gets stripped of both law and humanity. Trump's real-world cheerleading for ICE suddenly looks a lot more sinister when you see the cartoon version storming celestial gates with the same racial profiling tactics.
Oh, God, Dora the Explorer, excuse me.
So Dora the Explorer is at Mar-a-Lago, giving either Jeffrey Epstein or an Epstein-like figure a massage because she was captured during an ICE raid at a Dora the Explorer live event.
What's brilliant about South Park's approach is how they've exposed the fundamental contradiction in Trump's law and order messaging. The show depicts ICE operations as anything but orderly. They're chaotic, cruel, and completely divorced from actual justice. Yet Trump keeps doubling down, calling these same agents heroes, while South Park shows them terrorizing Dora the Explorer performances and conducting heavenly raids based purely on skin color. Actually, before we dive deeper into Trump's meltdown response, I need to mention something. The level of detail in this episode is insane. And if you're not subscribed, you're missing out on breakdowns like this that nobody else is covering. The production value alone shows these creators are playing for keeps in this political war.
Hey, Satan! Meet the new face of Homeland Security.
Whoa! Oh, my God!
I just want to go. This place is gross.
Would you like me to apply the baby oil to Satan's asshole, boss?
Okay, look, I think there's been a misunderstanding. I'm gonna just take a little break here.
But wait, it gets worse for Trump's crew. The episode culminates with the most expensive-looking set piece South Park has animated in years, Mar-a-Lago itself, transformed into a nightmarish horror show where J.D. Vance appears as Trump and Satan's personal assistant, basically their lube guy. And the animation makes sure you're not entirely sure that's metaphorical. They've got detailed nightmare rooms, Epstein-level sleaze references, and Dora the Explorer giving massages to old men after being captured during the ICE raid. The visual storytelling here is absolutely ruthless.
For the past 6 months, it's felt like everyone's been pulling their punches and walking on eggshells when it comes to Donald Trump. And it's not like it stems from nothing. He's been launching lawsuits left and right at corporations that he feels have wronged him. He doesn't hesitate to launch attacks on private citizens.
Trump's defense of ICE becomes even more telling when you understand his history with the agency. He's spent years calling ICE agents heroes, painting critics as soft on crime, and positioning himself as their ultimate champion. The man who built his political brand on law and order can't afford to let South Park's portrayal go unchallenged, even when that portrayal shows ICE as targeting kind, hard-working, deeply faithful people who care for their families, and conducting operations that look more like organized cruelty than law enforcement.
You've got ICE scooping up people seemingly because of things that they wrote. Throughout all of America, you've got masked men jumping out of vans and just scooping up undocumented immigrants, legal immigrants, native-born Americans, all the same.
Here's what makes Trump's position even more desperate. South Park's criticism comes at a time when ICE operations are already under intense scrutiny. Reports of masked agents jumping out of vans, scooping up not just undocumented immigrants, but legal immigrants and even native-born Americans have created a climate where 71% of independents disapprove of Trump's approach. South Park didn't create this controversy. They just turned it into comedy gold, while Trump scrambles to defend the indefensible.
They issued a statement saying the show Paramount just dished out a half of...
The White House's official response reveals just how deeply South Park's attack penetrated their messaging strategy. They released a statement claiming the show hasn't been relevant for over 20 years. The main catch here is that South Park is literally the #1 streamed show in America right now. and their administration just responded to a cartoon with an official White House statement. Talk about proving irrelevance by spending government resources to attack animated characters.
Yeah, it never ends, but it's so lazy to just constantly make fun of women for how they look. Only the liberals and the extremists do that.
Additional footage reveals just how rattled Trump's entire team has become. Kristi Noem appeared on Glenn Beck's show, desperately trying to deflect from the puppy controversy by complaining that South Park was being lazy by mocking women's appearances. The cognitive dissonance is staggering. She's upset about cartoon face melting, but apparently fine with bragging about dog eliminations in her actual memoir. Meanwhile, ICE's official Twitter account posted recruitment memes using South Park imagery, essentially proving the show's point about their desperation for personnel.
You're seeing people being intimidated. You're seeing the level of corruption just play out nakedly. I mean, you mentioned earlier, Donald Trump's former defense attorney is going to negotiate a deal with Ghislaine Maxwell. I mean, it's just absurd.
Trump's broader response strategy reveals exactly why he can't let South Park's ICE criticism slide. His entire political identity revolves around being the strong man who backs law enforcement unconditionally. When South Park shows ICE as bumbling, cruel, and racially motivated, they're attacking the core mythology Trump has built around himself. He literally cannot afford to appear weak on this issue, even if defending ICE means defending cartoon characters raiding heaven.
But then, notably, South Park, of all places, coming out with one of their most pointed episodes ever, where they went after Trump for thinking that he was a dictator, characterizing him as essentially Saddam Hussein.
The real kicker comes from understanding Trump's current political position. His approval rating sits at just 37%, only 3 points higher than his worst ever rating after January 6th. With 71% of independents disapproving of his approach, Trump desperately needs his base to believe in his law enforcement narrative. When South Park systematically dismantles that narrative, showing ICE as incompetent race-based enforcement rather than heroic border protection, Trump has no choice but to fight back or watch his core messaging crumble.
And Trump officials are trying to show they're in on the jokes, not just the butt of them. Vance posting on X today, "Well, I've finally made it."
What's fascinating is how Trump's predictable response pattern plays directly into South Park's hands. The creators know he can't ignore attacks on ICE because his entire tough guy persona depends on unwavering support for immigration enforcement. Every time he rushes to defend them, he provides material for the next episode, while simultaneously validating South Park's portrayal of him as thin-skinned and desperate.
So Gomez telling CNN that media moguls are betraying the public's trust. You know, Paramount recently canceled big-name Trump critic Stephen Colbert's show. So what about South Park? Well, today I asked the company's new CEO, David Ellison, if South Park's scathing Trump criticism is a problem for the company. Ellison indicated, no, it's not. He praised the show's creators. He told me he's been a fan of the show for decades. And he said, quote, "They are equal opportunity offenders."
The corporate dynamics make this situation even more delicious. Paramount just settled with Trump for $16 million and created new oversight positions to monitor bias after canceling Stephen Colbert. Yet here's South Park with their massive new contract, going harder at Trump than ever before. David Ellison, Paramount's new CEO, publicly defended South Park when asked directly about their Trump criticism, calling them equal opportunity offenders and praising their profitability. Money talks louder than political pressure, and South Park's streaming dominance gives them bulletproof protection.
You know, that's what being a free society is. Like, if you're not in a free society, then you can't have people making fun of the leader of the country.
This entire saga demonstrates something crucial about political satire's role in democracy. While traditional media outlets bend the knee and corporations cave to pressure, South Park is proving that sustained, uncompromising criticism can still exist when you have the right combination of talent, success, and contractual protection. They're not just making jokes. They're forcing uncomfortable conversations about immigration policy, racial profiling, and authoritarian overreach.
The ridicule of Donald Trump is already being described as the most courageous and daring FU to any president in U.S. history.
What makes this moment historically significant is how it represents a turning point where entertainment can still challenge power effectively. Trump's desperate responses to cartoon characters reveal exactly how thin-skinned authoritarians really are. Every defensive tweet, every official statement, every cabinet member's meltdown on cable news just feeds South Park's content machine while exposing the administration's fundamental weakness.
ICE tweeted a photo of like one of the images of the ICE raid in South Park, and they tweeted like join.ice.gov, and South Park quote tweeted it saying, "Wait, so we are relevant?"
The real question now is whether Trump can resist taking the bait for their next episode, or if he'll continue feeding the South Park content machine with increasingly desperate responses. Based on his track record and his 37% approval rating crisis, I'm betting on the latter, which means we're in for one hell of a season of political warfare disguised as animated comedy. When cartoon characters become more effective at exposing government corruption than actual journalists, maybe it's time to admit we're living in the weirdest timeline possible. Subscribe to our channel and let us know in the comments how relevant do you think South Park episode is to Trump administration.